Hello, my friends, my family, and my fans. I'm Andrew Ditch. I have been diagnosed with autism and intellectual disability. Today, I want to talk about a really important topic. This is very important for millions of other adults with autism. This topic shows how incompetent the medical and mental health field really is. You go to a doctor when something bothers you, like when physical pain, stomach problems, or even when your behaviors are not seen as the social norm. This is where I start with how incompetent doctors are in identifying autism and intellectual disability, and how they often can use masking as a way to misrepresent someone's behaviors as noncompliance or argumentative rather than part of their intellectual disability or developmental disability. Why misdiagnosis happens. Search results highlight that clinicians may misinterpret autistic thinking patterns as anxiety or depression because they resemble classic worry or sadness from the outside. Other reasons include autistic communication differences, difficulty describing internal states, masking clinicians unfamiliar with autistic cognitive style overlap with ADHD, sensory issues, or executive functioning challenges. How can this be mistaken for other mental disorders? My anxiety triggers is sensory overload, unpredictability, social confusion, routine changes, less about imagined danger, more about immediate overwhelm or disorientation. Yes, I worry about things as I know my limitations and what is and isn't safe. Loud sounds, bright lights, transitions, unexpected changes, crowded spaces, shutdowns, meltdowns, sensory distress, fight, flight, freeze from overload. Social communication differences are baseline. Anxiety increases when demands exceed processing capacity, present from early development. Anxiety increases with demands. My anxiety is not really from this excessive, uncontrollable worry about many topics, catastrophic thinking, rumination, fear of future events. I do not believe this is what I go through. I think people are expecting me to do things that normal adults do, like live alone without supervision, take mediations, be able to get outside in an emergency, manage medical and decisions, and being able to apply skills. Uncertainty, fear of bad outcomes, health worries, social evaluation. No, I think more positive that things will work out. I am the one who tells Dad all the time Mom will fight and come around. He always had the worst fear. Tension, restlessness, stomach upset, racing thoughts. No, not unless the other triggers from what causes it. Anxiety may interfere with socializing, but social understanding is intact. My anxiety does impact my life, but the way it does is the social life and expectations I cannot do, and sensory and changes and uncertainty exists on its own. My anxiety, when I understand what to expect, when to expect, and know what is expected of me, then I do not have anxiety. Your question is incredibly important, and the way you laid out your experiences makes the answer very clear. Your anxiety profile is autistic, not generalized. It can still be misinterpreted by professionals who don't understand autistic neurology. Below is a structured, precise explanation of why your sensory and demand-based anxiety is often mistaken for other mental disorders, even though it does not match those disorders at all. Why your autistic anxiety gets misdiagnosed. Clinicians who are not deeply trained in autism often interpret behaviors through a neurotypical mental health lens, not a neurodevelopmental lens. That leads to mislabeling. Your anxiety is triggered by sensory overload, triggered by unpredictability, triggered by social confusion, triggered by routine changes, triggered by demands that exceed your processing capacity, present since childhood, absent when things are predictable and supported. This is autism-related anxiety, not GAD, not panic disorder, not social anxiety disorder. But from the outside, it can look like other disorders. Let's break down how. Magnifying glass tilted left. 1. Mistaken for generalized anxiety disorder, GAD. Why professionals get it wrong. Your shutdowns, overwhelm, and distress look like anxiety attacks, so they assume GAD. Why this is incorrect. GAD is excessive, uncontrollable worry, catastrophic thinking, fear of future events, constant tension and restlessness, anxiety that exists even when life is predictable. You clearly said You do not catastrophize. You do not fear the future. You think positively. You only get anxious when sensory or demand triggers happen. Your anxiety disappears when expectations are clear. That rules out GAD. Magnifying glass tilted left 2. Mistaken for social anxiety disorder. Why professionals get it wrong. You avoid social situations and get overwhelmed in them. Why this is incorrect. Social anxiety disorder equals fear of being judged or embarrassed. Your experience is social confusion, processing difficulty, sensory, overload, communication, differences, executive functioning limits. You're not afraid of people judging you. You're overwhelmed by the demands of social interaction. That is autism, not social anxiety disorder. Magnifying glass tilted left 3. Mistaken for panic disorder. Why professionals get it wrong. Your meltdowns, shutdowns, and fight-flight-freeze responses can look like panic attacks. Why this is incorrect. Panic disorder equals sudden fear of dying, losing control, or having a heart attack. Your episodes come from loud sounds, bright lights, unexpected changes, crowded spaces, overload, too many demands. That is a sensory-based neurological response, not panic disorder. Magnifying glass tilted left 4. Mistaken for OCD. Why professionals get it wrong. Autistic rumination and repetitive thinking can look like obsessions. Why this is incorrect. OCD obsessions are fear-driven, intrusive, unwanted, paired with compulsions. Autistic rumination is processing, trying to understand, trying to predict, trying to make sense of confusion. Completely different mechanism. Magnifying glass tilted left 5. Mistaken for PTSD or trauma-related disorders. Why professionals get it wrong. Your shutdowns, avoidance, and distress after overwhelming events can look like trauma responses. Why this is incorrect. PTSD requires a traumatic event, re-experiencing, hypervigilance, avoidance of trauma reminders. Your reactions come from sensory overload, executive functioning overload, unpredictability, being pushed beyond your abilities. That is autistic overload, not trauma. Magnifying glass tilted left 6. Mistaken for depression. Why professionals get it wrong. Shutdowns, withdrawal, and overwhelm can look like depressive symptoms. Why this is incorrect. Depression involves persistent sadness, hopelessness, loss of interest, negative self-beliefs. You said, you think positively, you reassure others, you believe things will work out, you only withdraw when overwhelmed. That is not depression. Seedling, the core reason for misdiagnosis. Professionals often misunderstand autistic anxiety because they expect anxiety to be internal and fear-based. But your anxiety is external, environmental triggers, sensory-based, processing-based, demand-based, predictability-based, developmental, present since childhood. This is a completely different mechanism than mental health disorders. Rainbow, the most important pattern in your description. You said, when I understand what to expect, when to expect it, and know what is expected of me, then I do not have anxiety. That sentence alone proves your anxiety is not generalized. GAD does not disappear with predictability. Autistic anxiety often does. I ask my viewers to ask me questions and suggest any certain topic on mental health. I may end up making a video on that topic. Please subscribe to be alerted of all the information I have planned for in mental health in February. I cannot wait to hear from you about concerns, personal stories on mental health has failed you or someone you know, and things you have done to be a successful self-advocate to your doctor. If you're interested in disability topics such as treatment, support, accommodations, and rights, like this video and subscribe for more inclusive content. I will talk to you on my next video.